What if I told you that some of the biggest stars of Hollywood's golden age, those dazzling icons who defined romance and charm, were hiding a truth so dangerous it could have destroyed their entire careers? Behind the glittering premieres, adoring fans, and picture-perfect studio romances, many lived double lives shaped by fear and secrecy. In a world where being gay wasn't just frowned upon, it was forbidden, these legends carried their truth to the grave, protecting their image until the very end. Here are 25 Golden Age legends who hid the fact that they were gay until death. 25. Clifton Davis. Clifton Davis carried himself with quiet charm, never chasing the spotlight beyond his work. Behind that calm smile was a man who knew how ruthless old Hollywood could be toward anyone. Rumors floated through the studios. Whispers he always brushed off with grace. He focused on his craft, his audience, and his carefully protected privacy. Even in his later years, he stayed true to that silence, never confirming or denying what people thought they knew. When he passed, the mystery stayed intact, a lasting reminder of how secrecy once became a shield in a cruel world. 24. Van Johnson. Van Johnson looked like the perfect American sweetheart, tall, handsome, and charming enough to melt any heart. Studios built his image around boyish innocence and a picture-perfect marriage, but the reality was far from the script. Friends inside the industry quietly knew he lived a different truth, one that could have ended his career overnight if ever revealed. He played his roles well, both on screen and off, keeping his real feelings tucked behind polite smiles and movie posters. 23. George Cukor. George Cukor was one of the most respected filmmakers of Hollywood's golden era, directing classics that defined a generation. But behind the camera, he built a quiet sanctuary for stars living double lives. His elegant parties became safe havens where actors could breathe freely, away from the harsh eyes of studio bosses. Though his own private life was kept discreet, his kindness spoke volumes to those who shared his struggle. Cukor's brilliance on screen mirrored his ability to protect others off it, creating beauty in a world that demanded illusion. His story remains a hidden pillar of quiet rebellion. 22. Ramon Novarro. Ramon Novarro was once the face of silent-era romance, adored for his charm and striking looks. But fame came with danger for a man hiding his truth in a time of judgment. He lived with grace and caution, refusing to let the world see his real self. In the shadows, fear and loneliness became his constant companions. His tragic death years later revealed what Hollywood had tried to bury: the pain of a life lived behind curtains. Yet even through the silence, his work and courage outshone the rumors, reminding the world that beauty often hides unbearable sacrifice. 21. Noel Coward. Noel Coward mastered the art of wit, using humor to disguise truth in plain sight. He wrote characters full of charm, grace, and mischief, never letting the world see the man behind the words. Beneath his clever dialogue was a coded reflection of his own desires, expressed in ways only a few could understand. In a time when being different meant danger, Coward used brilliance as armor. He lived with sophistication and control, turning his private struggle into timeless art. His legacy isn't just his words, it's how he managed to tell his story without ever saying it aloud. 20. Charles Laughton. Charles Laughton was one of Hollywood's most gifted actors, known for transforming into unforgettable characters. Yet off-screen, he was trapped in a performance far more painful, pretending to be someone he wasn't. Married to actress Elsa Lanchester, he carried a burden that only those closest to him truly understood. The fear of exposure haunted him for decades, pushing him to bury emotions deep beneath his talent. His commanding voice and expressive eyes told 1,000 stories, but none of them revealed his own. Even in success, he lived quietly, choosing privacy over the truth that could destroy him. 19. Clifton Webb. Clifton Webb was sharp, elegant, and effortlessly funny, the kind of man Hollywood adored. But behind his charm was a private life that studios carefully avoided mentioning. He shared his home with his mother, lived a bachelor's life, and let people believe whatever they wanted. Those who knew him best saw a man who valued loyalty over gossip, sophistication over spectacle. He never confirmed the whispers, never denied them either. Webb's polished exterior hid a deep loneliness, a price many paid to keep their careers intact. In the end, he became a symbol of grace under silent pressure. 18. Dorothy Arzner. Dorothy Arzner didn't just break barriers, she built her own path in a man's world. As the only major female director in early Hollywood, she carved out a space where few women were welcome. Away from the set, she shared her life quietly with dancer Marion Morgan, never hiding their bond, but never flaunting it either. In an industry obsessed with control, Arzner earned respect through pure talent and defiance. She showed that truth could exist between the lines, and love didn't need public approval to be real. Her legacy lives not just in her films, but in her fearless authenticity. 17. Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins gave the world one of cinema's most haunting performances, but his real-life struggles were even darker. Hollywood adored his talent, but demanded that he live a lie. Constantly fearing exposure, Perkins played the role of a shy, misunderstood man, masking his truth behind nervous smiles and quiet interviews. His relationships were hidden, his emotions suppressed, and his freedom always just out of reach. Behind the camera, he carried guilt and confusion, torn between fame and honesty. When he passed away, the world celebrated his art, but few realized how much pain had fueled his unforgettable genius. 16. Tab Hunter. Tab Hunter was every studio's dream, clean-cut, handsome, and loved by millions. But his carefully polished image was built on lies Hollywood forced him to tell. Behind the posters and fan letters, he lived in fear of scandal. When gossip magazines exposed him, the dream was nearly shattered overnight. Yet instead of bitterness, Hunter chose quiet dignity. Years later, he told his story in his own words, revealing how fame had trapped him in silence. His honesty became an act of rebellion, showing that even in a fake world, truth eventually finds its way to the surface. 15. Raymond Burr. Raymond Burr built a career as one of television's most respected actors, but his real life was written in fiction. To hide his sexuality, he invented stories: a dead wife, a lost child, a past that never existed. It was a heartbreaking attempt to protect what he loved most, his work. Behind closed doors, he found comfort with his lifelong partner, Robert Benavides, but kept their relationship hidden from the public. Burr's performances radiated warmth and strength, even as he carried a secret the world wasn't ready for. His truth, once buried, later became his quiet redemption. 14. Cole Porter. Cole Porter wrote songs that made the world fall in love, yet his own love story had to stay hidden. Behind the laughter and champagne, he lived with quiet sadness, knowing society would never accept him as he was. Married to a woman who understood his secret, Porter used music to say what he couldn't in words. Each melody carried hints of longing, coded for those who could see beyond the lyrics. Despite the deception, his brilliance never faded. His courage to create beauty while living in silence remains one of the most poignant truths of the Golden Age. 13. Tyrone Power. Tyrone Power's face graced every magazine cover, and his charm made him Hollywood royalty. Yet behind the applause was a man haunted by the fear of exposure. He played romantic heroes with ease, but his own love life was far more complicated. Despite multiple marriages, insiders whispered about his true desires. Power's confidence on screen contrasted with the secrecy off it, where vulnerability ruled. He carried his truth quietly, finding fleeting moments of peace in private circles. His life was a reminder of how even the brightest stars sometimes shine from behind carefully built walls. 12. Danny Kaye. Danny Kaye's laughter lit up every stage he stepped on. His timing was flawless, his humor effortless, but few knew how heavy the mask truly was. Beneath the playful persona was a man constantly battling whispers about his private life. Rumors linked him to powerful names, but he deflected every question with a joke. Fame demanded a happy face, and Kaye mastered that art better than anyone. Yet behind the curtain, he longed for normalcy, a life free from pretending. His story shows that even the funniest souls sometimes hide their deepest pain behind laughter. 11. Laurence Olivier. Laurence Olivier was the definition of sophistication, admired as one of the greatest actors of all time. His marriages and romances filled headlines, but not all stories made it to print. Behind the grandeur, whispers followed him through dressing rooms and elite circles. Some said his charm and curiosity went far beyond what the public ever knew. Olivier buried his truth behind elegance and discipline, focusing only on the stage. His ability to transform into anyone became both his gift and his escape. In the end, the man who could become anyone rarely got to be himself. 10. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando redefined what it meant to be a Hollywood star, magnetic, rebellious, and unfiltered. He challenged everything from the studio system to society's rules. But what the world didn't know was that Brando also lived without labels, quietly exploring relationships beyond what was accepted. His confidence on screen hid a complex private life filled with secrecy and pain. Years later, interviews hinted at truths he never felt safe enough to reveal during his peak. In a time when honesty could end a career, Brando's subtle defiance became revolutionary. He lived his truth quietly, but left it echoing loudly. 9. Barbara Stanwyck. Barbara Stanwyck built her career on toughness, independence, and raw emotion. On screen, she was unstoppable, a woman who didn't need anyone's approval. Off-screen, her life followed a quieter script. She married twice, yet gossip always lingered about her close female friendships and her need for privacy. Studios protected her image, crafting stories of romance while hiding the truth behind her fierce confidence. Stanwyck never spoke about her personal life, choosing silence over scandal. Her strength became her shield, her mystery her greatest weapon. She lived exactly as she wanted, in control, unbroken, and untouchably powerful. 8. Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy was admired for his raw honesty on screen, but behind that authenticity was a man torn apart by guilt and secrecy. His public relationship with Katharine Hepburn was treated as legendary, yet it served as a quiet cover for truths neither could reveal. Bound by his Catholic faith and fear of judgment, Tracy lived a divided life, one filled with inner conflict and loneliness. Those who knew him described his deep sadness, the weight of constant pretending. His brilliance came from pain he could never admit, turning his performances into reflections of his hidden turmoil. 7. Katharine Hepburn. Katharine Hepburn defied Hollywood's expectations from the start, refusing glamour, rejecting control, and proudly walking her own path. While her partnership with Spencer Tracy dominated headlines, the real story was far more complicated. Her lifelong bond with Laura Harding and rumored relationships with women remained unspoken in public. Hepburn guarded her privacy fiercely, refusing to let anyone define her. She lived on her own terms, blending strength and secrecy with unmatched grace. Her independence wasn't just rebellion, it was survival in a world that punished honesty. Even in silence, she became one of Hollywood's boldest voices. 6. Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo was the mystery Hollywood could never solve. She captivated the world with her haunting beauty and magnetic presence, yet off-screen, she withdrew from it all. Her close relationship with writer Mercedes de Acosta fueled quiet speculation, but Garbo never cared to confirm or deny anything. She avoided interviews, red carpets, and the noise of fame. Her retreat from Hollywood wasn't vanity, it was self-protection. She lived quietly, privately, and unapologetically true to herself. Garbo didn't need to explain her choices. Her silence spoke volumes, turning her life into one of Hollywood's most whispered enigmas. 5. James Dean. James Dean embodied rebellion, fearless, restless, and effortlessly cool. Yet behind the leather jacket and sharp gaze was a young man burdened by secrets. Friends and insiders spoke of his complex relationships, hinting at passions that defied the norms of his time. Hollywood crafted him into a symbol of youth and desire, but silenced the parts that didn't fit the image. Dean's vulnerability made him magnetic, but it also made him dangerous in a world built on lies. His life was short, his fame eternal, and his truth forever wrapped in the mystery he left behind. 4. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift was one of Hollywood's most gifted actors, admired for the deep emotion he brought to every role. But behind his gentle eyes was a soul consumed by conflict. He struggled with his identity in an industry that demanded perfection and punished truth. After a devastating car accident, his pain grew heavier, both physical and emotional. Friends whispered that the crash changed more than his face. It deepened his sadness, fueled by secrets he could never share. Clift's performances felt hauntingly real because they came from a place of genuine suffering, a heart torn between love and fear. 3. Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson was the man every woman adored and every man envied. On screen, he was flawless, tall, charming, and confident. But behind the scenes, his life was built on fear and carefully managed lies. Studio heads arranged fake romances and marriages to protect their golden boy's image. Living in constant disguise took its toll, leaving Hudson isolated in the very world that made him famous. When illness finally forced the truth into the open, he faced it with grace. His courage in those final years gave a voice to countless others who had been forced to stay silent. 2. Randolph Scott. Randolph Scott was the picture of rugged masculinity, a cowboy hero who conquered every frontier on screen. Yet the greatest frontier he faced was within himself. His long companionship with Cary Grant sparked endless rumors, ones both men quietly ignored. They shared homes, laughter, and a quiet kind of love Hollywood refused to understand. When publicity teams grew nervous, they were ordered to separate, trading happiness for image. Scott carried on as the studio's perfect gentleman, but those who saw him off-screen knew the truth. A man who sacrificed peace to protect a career built on illusion. 1. Cary Grant. Cary Grant defined Hollywood elegance, suave, funny, and irresistibly charming. But behind his charisma was a private life that didn't fit the golden era mold. His deep bond with Randolph Scott became one of the industry's best-kept secrets. They shared homes, vacations, and years of quiet companionship, captured in photos that made studios panic. To protect his image, Grant married multiple times, each union adding another layer to the performance. Yet through it all, he remained a man caught between truth and survival. Even in silence, his story became a symbol of how love once had to hide in plain sight. It's heartbreaking to think that so many of Hollywood's brightest stars spent their lives hiding who they truly were, trapped by the same system that made them famous. Their talent shaped cinema, but their silence reveals the cost of surviving in a world that wasn't ready to accept them. How many more stories like these are still buried beneath the glamour of old Hollywood? If you want to uncover the hidden truths behind more of Hollywood's most guarded secrets, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell.
What if I told you that some of Hollywood's most legendary action stars, known for their death-defying stunts and larger-than-life personas, met tragic ends that shocked the world? Behind the tough guy roles, the high-speed chases, and the exploding set pieces, these men faced battles far more dangerous than anything they ever encountered on screen. But not all heroes get a happy ending. Here are 10 action stars whose deaths were as shocking and tragic as the roles they played. You won't believe what happened to some of these icons. Number 10. Bruce Lee. The martial arts legend's mysterious death shocked the world. But what if everything you've been told about it was a lie? Bruce Lee collapsed suddenly at just 32 years old, at the absolute peak of his career. The official story: cerebral edema from an allergic reaction to a headache medication. But the truth is far more sinister. Lee was making enemies in Hong Kong's underworld. Some insiders whispered about Chinese gangsters putting a hit on him. Others spoke of an ancient family curse. His final hours were surrounded by scandal. He collapsed at an actress's apartment, not his own home, as initially reported. The studio scrambled to protect his image. His son Brandon later died in a freak accident on a movie set. Coincidence, or something more sinister? The Lee family deaths remain Hollywood's most disturbing unsolved mystery. Bruce died just days before the release of Enter the Dragon, the film that would have made him a global superstar, a timing so tragic it feels almost scripted. Number 9. James Dean. Hollywood's ultimate bad boy met a fate so ironic, it feels like the plot of one of his tragic films. Dean, racing his Porsche Spyder at breakneck speeds, crashed violently at a California intersection, his promising life snuffed out at just 24. But here's what they didn't tell you. Dean received a speeding ticket just hours before his death, ignoring the warning that would have saved his life. The car itself, nicknamed Little Bastard, became infamous as cursed. Parts salvaged from the wreckage reportedly caused accidents, injuries, and deaths for years afterward. Dean's broken body was so horrifically mangled that funeral attendees were spared the open casket viewing typical of the era. The ultimate tragedy? Dean's two defining films, Rebel Without a Cause and Giant, were released after his death. He never lived to see his legendary status. His famous quote, "Live fast, die young, leave a good-looking corpse," became a chilling prophecy. Dean's death was so preventable, so needless, that it haunts Hollywood to this day. Number 8. Steve McQueen. The king of cool died in a way that shattered his tough guy image forever. McQueen, who cheated death on screen countless times, couldn't escape the cancer eating him alive at just 50 years old. But here's the devastating truth Hollywood executives tried to hide. McQueen's fatal mesothelioma likely came from the asbestos in movie set insulation and the racing helmets he wore in his dangerous hobby. In his final desperate months, the action star fled to Mexico, seeking miracle cures banned in America. Coffee enemas, laetrile treatments, and mystical healing. His body, once Hollywood's symbol of rugged masculinity, wasted away beyond recognition. The final blow? After battling through experimental treatments, McQueen died from a heart attack following surgery to remove tumors, a procedure American doctors warned would kill him. His last photos, snapped by paparazzi against his will, show a bearded, unrecognizable man who'd lost his legendary physique. McQueen, who made millions performing dangerous stunts, was ultimately killed by simply breathing the air on movie sets. The studio system that made him famous ultimately contributed to his demise. Number 7. Errol Flynn. Hollywood's original swashbuckling heartthrob lived hard, played harder, and died under circumstances so scandalous they're still whispered about today. Flynn, looking decades older than his 50 years thanks to legendary alcohol and drug abuse, collapsed while trying to sell his beloved yacht. A desperate attempt to solve financial problems few knew existed. The truth? The star of Captain Blood and Robin Hood died broke, and his fortune was squandered on women, booze, and failed ventures. His autopsy revealed the body of an 80-year-old man. Decades of hard living had ravaged him from the inside out. But the circumstances surrounding his final moments were even more shocking. Flynn died in the home of a young doctor he'd just met, reportedly after a days-long party binge. His infamous last words, "I've had a hell of a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed every minute of it," mask a tragic reality. Flynn died a pariah in Hollywood, blacklisted after statutory rape trials destroyed his reputation. The studios abandoned the star who'd made them millions. His autobiography, aptly titled My Wicked, Wicked Ways, hit bookstores just days after his body was cold. Number 6. Robert Conrad. The tough guy star of the Wild Wild West survived decades of dangerous stunts only to be betrayed by his own body. Conrad built his career on a macho image, performing death-defying acts without a stuntman and challenging anyone who questioned his toughness. Few fans knew that behind his famous "knock this battery off my shoulder" commercials lurked a man battling chronic pain from injuries that would have stopped most men. Conrad's fearlessness ultimately cost him dearly. A devastating 2003 car crash left him partially paralyzed on his right side, forcing the once virile action star to use a wheelchair. A cruel fate for a man whose entire identity centered on physical prowess. Studio executives kept his health struggles hidden for years, perpetuating the myth of the indestructible action hero. Conrad spent his final years in agony from injuries sustained doing his stunts. The very things that made him famous slowly killed him. His heart finally gave out at 84 after decades of fighting his body's decline. Even in death, his legacy as television's toughest man overshadowed the physical suffering he endured in silence. Number 5. Tyrone Power. Hollywood's dashing swashbuckler died in the most dramatic way possible, collapsing during a sword fight on set at just 44 years old. But the shocking truth, Power had been complaining of chest pains for weeks before his fatal heart attack, but studio bosses forced him to continue the physically demanding role in Solomon and Sheba anyway. Power's death exposed Hollywood's darkest secret. Stars were disposable assets to be worked until they broke. The handsome actor dropped dead mid-scene opposite George Sanders, with cameras rolling. Studio executives' first concern wasn't for the dying star, but for how to salvage the expensive production. They quickly replaced him with Yul Brynner and reshot his scenes, erasing Power from the very film that killed him. Even more heartbreaking, after years of being typecast in action roles, Power had finally convinced studios to let him show his dramatic talent, a chance he never lived to fully realize. His military service during World War II, flying dangerous combat missions, weakened his heart, but Hollywood's grueling demands delivered the final blow. Studio publicity teams worked overtime to downplay how preventable his death truly was. Number 4. Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi wasn't just an actor, he was a legend. When he first appeared as Count Dracula in the 1931 classic, audiences were captivated. His thick Hungarian accent, his hypnotic stare, and that eerie charm made him an overnight sensation. But while the world saw a horror icon, behind the scenes, Lugosi was slowly sinking into a nightmare of his own. typecasting became his curse. After playing Dracula, Lugosi found it nearly impossible to get roles outside the horror genre. Directors didn't want the man, just the monster. And when horror temporarily fell out of favor in Hollywood, so did Lugosi. The jobs stopped coming, the lights dimmed, and the applause turned into silence. To make things worse, Lugosi suffered from sciatica, a painful nerve condition that left him in constant agony. Doctors prescribed him morphine, and soon the addiction took hold. It wasn't long before he was dependent both on the drug and on whatever scraps of work he could find. Desperate to survive, Lugosi ended up working with Ed Wood, a man famously dubbed the worst director in film history. The once revered actor was now starring in ultra-low-budget, cringeworthy films like Plan 9 from outer space. It was humiliating, but it was all he had. No big studio came to his rescue. No one cared. When Lugosi died of a heart attack at 73, he had nothing. Not even enough money for his burial. In a haunting twist, he was buried wearing his Dracula cape, not as a final honor, but because his family hoped the publicity stunt would help cover funeral costs. It worked. Frank Sinatra, upon hearing the heartbreaking story, stepped in and paid for the service. Meanwhile, Lugosi's longtime rival, Boris Karloff, who played Frankenstein's monster, continued to enjoy steady work and respect in his final years. The contrast couldn't be more tragic. Lugosi's downfall is more than just a sad story. It's a brutal reminder of how fast Hollywood forgets its heroes once they're no longer useful. His tragic ending remains one of the industry's darkest secrets. Number 3. Vic Morrow. The death of veteran action star Vic Morrow wasn't just tragic. It was a catastrophe that exposed Hollywood's darkest, most criminal secrets. Morrow, known for his tough guy roles and action-packed scenes, met his end during the filming of Twilight Zone, the movie in 1982. While attempting to save 2 illegally hired child actors, Morrow was decapitated by a helicopter blade during a dramatic Vietnam War scene. What makes this tragedy even more haunting is that it was entirely preventable. Morrow's death was caught on camera, exposing the deep-rooted negligence and dangerous practices hidden behind the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. The accident unfolded while the children, aged 6 and 7, were filming in the middle of the night at around 2:30 a.m. under perilous conditions. They had been hired under the table to avoid the necessary work permits, bypassing child labor laws. The stunt that Morrow was performing was a high-risk sequence involving a helicopter flying dangerously close to the actors. Morrow had repeatedly expressed concerns about the safety of the scene, but he was pressured by director John Landis to proceed. The director had knowingly broken multiple safety regulations and failed to secure proper permits, all to get the explosive, dramatic shots he was after. The incident rocked the industry and sparked an investigation. However, despite the severity of the accident, the resulting trial ended in acquittals for Landis and the other filmmakers involved, proving once again that Hollywood often prioritizes its interests over the safety of its actors. For Morrow, who had been hoping for a career comeback, the tragedy became a somber, cautionary tale. The horrific nature of his death meant that his family, including his estranged daughter, actress Jennifer Jason Leigh, learned of the loss through news reports. The footage of Morrow's death remains locked away, a chilling reminder of the industry's darkest secrets and the extreme lengths it sometimes goes to for the sake of a memorable scene. Even in death, Hollywood protected its own, leaving Morrow's legacy tied to a preventable tragedy that the world could never fully forget. Number 2. John Garfield. He didn't die in a gunfight or go down swinging in a ring. John Garfield, star of gritty classics like Body and Soul, was brought down by something much colder: politics and fear. During the height of the McCarthy era, when Hollywood became a hunting ground for suspected communists, Garfield was dragged into the chaos. The House Un-American Activities Committee wanted names, and Garfield refused to give them. That decision would cost him everything. Studio bosses who once celebrated his every move turned their backs overnight. Offers stopped coming. His name vanished from marquees. It didn't matter that he wasn't a communist, just that he wouldn't betray others to prove it. The blacklist chewed him up and spat him out. Under the weight of public suspicion and professional exile, his personal life crumbled. His marriage fell apart, and his health, already shaky from a childhood illness, got worse. At just 39 years old, John Garfield's heart gave out. But make no mistake, he didn't die of natural causes. He was killed by stress, heartbreak, and a brutal system that demanded conformity over courage. He died alone, not on a movie set, but in a friend's apartment, his legacy smeared by cruel rumors that he'd been hiding something. But there were no secrets left, just a broken man, betrayed by the very industry he helped build. Number 1. Clark Gable. The king of Hollywood died a death shrouded in whispers and studio cover-ups that continue to this day. Gable, the legendary star of Gone with the Wind, suffered a massive heart attack at 59. But what you haven't been told is how directly his final film contributed to his death. The Misfits, which also claimed Marilyn Monroe's life shortly after, required Gable to perform grueling physical stunts in the Nevada desert heat, despite his already failing health. Studio executives, desperate to finish the troubled production, pushed him beyond human limits. Gable, ever the professional, refused to use a stunt double, completing physically demanding scenes that doctors had explicitly warned could kill him. The devastating truth? Gable suffered his heart attack just days after filming ended. His body finally collapsed after being pushed too far. Even more heartbreaking, Gable's wife was pregnant when he died. He never lived to see his only biological child. The studio system that had worked him to death immediately set about sanitizing the circumstances, downplaying the connection between his final film and his fatal heart attack. His legacy as Hollywood royalty was preserved, but at the cost of the truth. Gable's death marked not just the end of a star, but the end of Hollywood's golden age itself. If these tragic endings shocked you, just wait until you hear what some stars were hiding while they were alive. Hit that like button if you grew up watching any of these legends. Subscribe for more untold stories from Hollywood's hidden past, because what you think you know is only the beginning. And let us know in the comments which of these tragic deaths hit you the hardest. What if I told you that some of the biggest action stars were secretly gay, living a life Hollywood desperately tried to erase? Behind the roaring engines, explosive fight scenes, and perfect on-screen romances, these stars were hiding their true selves, trapped in a world where revealing their sexuality could destroy everything they'd worked for. In a time when being gay meant the end of a career, these men navigated fame with a mask of straightness, their personal lives buried under layers of secrecy. Here are 20 action stars whose hidden truth could have shattered their careers, if it ever got out. Number 20. Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson was the epitome of Hollywood's golden boy, the ruggedly handsome heartthrob adored by millions. But behind the flawless exterior, Hudson harbored a secret that could have destroyed his career if it ever got out. In a time when being gay meant instant ruin, Hudson's relationships with men were kept hidden from the public eye. The studios worked tirelessly to maintain his ladies' man image, feeding the public's desire for a perfect, all-American star. But when AIDS tragically claimed his life, the truth finally came crashing into the spotlight. His death exposed a life lived in fear, a secret so carefully guarded that it couldn't be hidden forever. Rock Hudson's story wasn't just about stardom, it was about survival in a world that demanded silence. Number 19. Cary Grant. Cary Grant, with his impeccable charm and debonair looks, was the definition of a ladies' man. But behind closed doors, his closest relationship was with fellow actor Randolph Scott. sparking rumors that would follow him for decades. The world saw a suave, sophisticated heartthrob on the screen, but the truth was far more complex. Despite the Hollywood studios working overtime to protect his public persona, whispers of Grant's true sexual orientation never truly disappeared. It wasn't just the public's fascination with his on-screen romances, it was the untold story behind the scenes. The pressure to maintain his straight image weighed heavily on Grant, who never publicly confirmed the rumors. His personal life remained a well-guarded secret, but the question remains, how much of his life was truly his own? Number 18. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando was more than just a screen legend. He was an enigma. His performances were raw, intense, and unforgettable, but they hid a much deeper personal story. Brando was known for his passionate relationships with both men and women, yet he never publicly confirmed the rumors that swirled around his sexuality. Hollywood's biggest bad boy was also a man who had to play by the industry's rules, which meant hiding parts of himself that would have ruined him. Brando's private life was a labyrinth of contradictions, one that his fans never fully understood. His story remains one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. Was he just a genius actor, or was there a truth lurking beneath the surface that he couldn't reveal? Number 17. Peter Lawford. Peter Lawford, the charming member of the Rat Pack, was a man of many faces. On the outside, he exuded sophistication, mingling with Hollywood's elite and maintaining his position as a beloved heartthrob. But his true self was something else entirely. Lawford's private life was a well-kept secret. He had relationships with both men and women, yet his public persona never hinted at this hidden reality. The studios worked hard to protect his image, knowing that any exposure could have been career-ending. Lawford's suave socialite persona was a carefully crafted illusion, one that hid his truth behind the curtains of Hollywood's glittering facade. What was the cost of living in the closet for so long? His career was built on secrecy and survival. Number 16. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn was the swashbuckling hero everyone adored. The charming, fearless man of action who captured the hearts of audiences worldwide. But behind the scenes, his life was anything but simple. Flynn's flamboyant personality and close bonds with male friends fueled rumors that he was far more than just a ladies' man. He was a man living a double life, playing the role of the heartthrob while concealing his true identity. Hollywood may have celebrated his on-screen exploits, but Flynn's personal life was filled with complexities that couldn't be erased. He was forced to wear a mask, one that hid the real man beneath the bravado. Could the true Errol Flynn have been just as iconic had the world known the real story? Number 15. James Mason. James Mason's career was built on sophistication and suave charm, but the man behind the roles remained a mystery. Known for his portrayal of cultured, polished characters, Mason's personal life was a tightly guarded secret. His friendships with men, some of them notably close, sparked speculation about his sexuality. Yet Mason never spoke about it. He never confirmed the whispers. In Hollywood, where public perception was everything, Mason kept his truth hidden, fearing the consequences of revealing his true self. The industry had a way of burying the most uncomfortable truths, and for Mason, silence was his shield. His story remains a quiet testament to the price of secrecy in a world where image was everything. Number 14. Burt Lancaster. Burt Lancaster was the quintessential tough guy, rugged, masculine, and the perfect leading man in every sense. On the outside, he lived the dream: powerful roles, a beloved star status, and a reputation as a ladies' man. But privately, Lancaster's life was far more complex. His sexual orientation was a subject of whispers and rumors within Hollywood circles, yet the man himself never addressed it publicly. Lancaster lived in the shadow of his public persona, keeping his true self under wraps to protect his career. The price of fame in a time of deep societal restrictions meant silence, and Lancaster paid that price every day. What would his legacy have looked like if the truth had come to light? Number 13, Anthony Quinn. Anthony Quinn was the powerful force behind some of Hollywood's most iconic roles, known for his performances in Zorba the Greek and Lawrence of Arabia. But while his career soared, his personal life remained a closely guarded secret. Although he was married twice, rumors of his romantic liaisons with men circulated in whispers. Quinn's story was one of survival, as he kept his private life tightly sealed, knowing that any hint of his true identity could have shattered his career. Hollywood wasn't kind to those who strayed from the expected norms, and Quinn understood the stakes. His truth was never fully revealed, leaving his personal story to remain one of Hollywood's many untold secrets. Number 12, Cesar Romero. Cesar Romero may have been Hollywood's original Latin lover, but his real life was far more complicated than his on-screen personas suggested. Best known for playing the Joker in the 1960s Batman series, Romero was adored by fans for his smooth charm and good looks. Yet, despite his on-screen romantic roles, Romero never married, and rumors about his sexuality dogged him throughout his life. He never publicly addressed the speculation, choosing instead to live his life in secrecy. His fame as a ladies' man may have been a carefully cultivated image, but the true story of his life remains a mystery, hidden behind the mask of Hollywood's expectations. What drove Romero to keep his truth buried for so long? Number 11, Ramon Novarro. Ramon Novarro was one of Hollywood's brightest stars during the silent film era, a heartthrob who captivated audiences with his charm and talent. But his rise to fame was also marked by a painful secret. Novarro's Mexican heritage, combined with his hidden sexuality, made his Hollywood journey perilous. In an industry where public image was everything, Novarro was forced to live a double life, concealing his true identity to protect his career. The pressures of hiding who he truly was eventually caught up with him, leading to a tragic end. Novarro's story is one of heartbreak, as the world saw a star but never truly understood the man behind the screen. Number 10, Sal Mineo. Sal Mineo lit up the screen in Rebel Without a Cause, capturing hearts with his intensity and vulnerability. But behind that rising star was a young man living in fear. For years, Mineo kept his sexuality hidden, terrified that the truth would end his career. In a time when even a whisper could destroy everything, he played the game, smiling for the cameras, hiding his reality. Later in life, he finally came out, but it was a brave step taken after years of isolation and secrecy. Tragically, his life ended too soon, just as he was stepping into his truth. What might have been had Hollywood let him live openly from the start. Number 9, Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift was one of the most brilliant actors of his time, but also one of the most haunted. His striking good looks and emotional depth made him a star, yet his personal life was marked by silent suffering. Clift's relationships with men were an open secret in Hollywood, but never spoken of publicly. He lived behind a mask, torn between who he was and who the world expected him to be. The emotional toll was visible in his performances, raw with pain and vulnerability. Clift never came out before his death, leaving behind a legacy of both genius and tragedy. Could he have survived the truth at a different time? Number 8, Tab Hunter. Tab Hunter had the look, the charm, and the adoration of millions. But his life was a script written by the studio, not one he could call his own. In the 1950s, Hunter was a teen idol, the boy every girl dreamed of. Behind the scenes, though his sexuality was carefully hidden, studio executives staged fake romances and media appearances to sell the fantasy, knowing that one wrong move could end his career. The fear was constant, the pressure suffocating. Hunter eventually told his story, but only decades later. His truth was buried under decades of deceit. How many others lived the same lie? Number 7, Van Johnson. Van Johnson, the golden boy of the silver screen, was known for his wholesome, all-American charm, but there was always something the cameras didn't catch. Johnson's private life was the subject of hushed whispers. Rumors of secret relationships with men swirled around him for years, yet he never addressed them, choosing to protect his carefully built image. In a Hollywood that demanded conformity, Johnson played the role expected of him, but the price was steep. How much of himself did he have to sacrifice to stay in the spotlight? Number 6. Richard Chamberlain. Richard Chamberlain was the heartthrob of millions, especially in his roles in Dr. Kildare and the Thornbirds. But for decades, he lived a double life. Chamberlain's sexuality was a carefully guarded secret, locked away for fear that the truth would destroy his career. He smiled for the cameras, gave interviews about women, and hid a part of himself for years. Only later in life did he come out, long after the industry could hurt him. His story is one of survival, but also sorrow. How different could his life have been if he hadn't been forced to hide? Number 5. George Nader. George Nader had it all: the looks, the talent, the screen presence to be a leading man, but one truth ended everything. When Nader was outed, his Hollywood dream came crashing down. Roles vanished, and the industry turned its back on him. His career was in a heartbeat, a reminder of how brutal and unforgiving the system could be. Nader never denied who he was. He simply paid the price for it. What does that say about the world he worked so hard to belong to? Number 4. Dirk Bogarde. Dirk Bogarde was a British film icon, known for his polished charm and striking performances. But his greatest relationship, his lifelong partnership with his manager, was never acknowledged publicly. Bogarde lived a life of subtle defiance, refusing to marry or conform, yet never revealing the truth either. For decades, he dodged questions, kept up appearances, and let the world believe what it wanted. Only after his death did many begin to piece together the truth of his hidden love. In the shadows of fame, how many secrets went to the grave with him? Number 3. Farley Granger. Farley Granger, best remembered for his role in Hitchcock's Rope, lived a life balanced on a knife's edge. Within his close circle, he was open about his relationships with men, but to the public, he wore a different face. Granger never officially came out, caught between acceptance in private and silence in the spotlight. Hollywood was a world of illusion, and Granger was forced to live in one of the greatest illusions of all. How does a man stay true to himself when the world demands a lie? Number 2. William Haynes. William Haynes was a trailblazer long before the world was ready. In the 1920s, he was one of Hollywood's top stars and openly gay among friends. But when the studios told him to choose between his career and his relationship, Haynes chose love. He walked away from fame rather than deny the man he loved. His stardom vanished, but he built a new life as a successful interior designer, staying true to himself until the end. Haynes didn't just survive, he thrived. Could there be a more powerful act of defiance? Number 1. Raymond Burr. Raymond Burr captivated audiences as the brilliant attorney in Perry Mason, but his off-screen life was one of carefully crafted lies. Burr never married, but that didn't stop studios from inventing stories. Fabricated wives, tragic deaths, and cover-ups, all to protect his secret. Behind the curtain, Burr had a longtime partner, but their relationship was kept hidden from the public eye. Hollywood demanded perfection, and Burr gave it at the cost of his truth. How many stories were rewritten just to fit the mold? These stars were forced to live behind masks, hiding who they truly were in a world that didn't accept them. But their stories also remind us of the power of resilience and the price of being true to oneself. In the end, their legacies are not just defined by their on-screen roles, but by their courage to live life on their terms. Who knows what might have happened if the world had been ready to accept them for who they were. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want more untold stories from Hollywood's past. Stay curious.